going on, guys? College basketball national championship. I'm going to talk about that in today's video. Spread, total, everything you guys want to know about the game. I'm going to give my opinion on in today's video. So subscribe and drop a like on the video. There's only one more week until NBA playoffs start. I'll be covering every single game of the NBA playoffs. So look forward to that. And all summer long, MLB as well. Off to a great start. April's been amazing so far. I know there's a little bit of glare. Maybe I'll figure out the lighting here. I've changed the background. I bought a dry erase wall calendar, a big wall calendar, so you guys can see the individual days and how much money was gained or lost on any particular day. Right now, you can see it at the bottom of the screen. You can see it back there. I've only had 2 losing days in the last 8 days. Up over 13 units, almost 13.8 units in my last 8 days. So really rocking and rolling. If your average wager is $100, if your average unit on a wager is $100, that's $1,380 in just over a week. If you guys want my premium picks, link to my website in the description. You can get a week of my picks for $30. So maybe something to consider if you're interested. We are coming off a losing day back there. You see it, that red right there, red 2.1. We lost about 2 units on Sunday. It was a weird, wacky day in the MLB, man. Some weird stuff happening. The Marlins, the Oakland A's. Very interesting, but hey, that's baseball. We'll take a little small losing day here and there. I think anybody with a brain will take 6 out of 8 winning days. So let's go ahead and get into this college basketball stuff. My TikTok link, my SoBet link, those are in the description as well if you're interested. I give out a lot of free plays on TikTok, so swing by the TikTok. What are we going to go over here? I got a little bit of notes, but you know what? I think the biggest factor in this college basketball national championship game is actually the mentality of the teams. I don't think it's X's and O's. Now, coaching is a big part. Okay, we have a significant coaching advantage for UConn. And that's going to play a part in the second half, right? The adjustments made at halftime, just kind of, dead ball plays. So coming out of a timeout, I'm going to give the advantage always to UConn out of a timeout. You know, if there's a minute left in the game and something has to happen, 5 seconds before half and one team gets one more possession, like all those dead ball off a timeout, inbounding, like all those types of plays, I think there's going to be a significant advantage for UConn. But here's the thing, and the spread's been bouncing around. I was actually talking to one of my clients, like the minute that the Final Four ended, right? And the spread was 5.5. Well, it's quickly gotten up to 6.5, actually 7. There's a 6.5 still on FanDuel at -110. I think DraftKings right now is a +7. And with all the money on UConn and with all the hype about UConn, I don't think it'd be too crazy if we do see maybe a 7.5 on one of the books by tip-off. So if you do want Purdue, if you do want the points with Purdue, there's no reason to rush, man. I would just do more research, keep looking into the game, and wait and see if you can get a 7.5. Something to consider. If you want UConn, it really doesn't matter. I would just go on FanDuel right now and grab that 6.5. That's probably the best you're going to get. But in terms of this game, and like I said, the mentality, right? The mentality is what I think is super important in this game. The pressure was on Purdue, and that was a huge story. I mean, potentially the biggest story in all of March Madness was the pressure on Purdue from that first round game all the way until their last game. Why? Because they're a favorite, okay? Purdue versus double-digit seed, right? Purdue versus, big underdog or whatever. That's been the big story. But now, am I crazy to say that Purdue should just completely be a different team here? I mean, wildly different. It's like, okay, they made it all the way to the point to where now they're expected to lose. There's no pressure on Purdue. I thought they looked a little bit tight in the last game. I thought NC State came back down to earth so drastically that even like maybe a C- effort from Purdue in that Final Four matchup, they still won the game easy. I mean, they still covered the spread and won the game, no problem. NC State, I mean, it was everybody watching that last game. It was like, oh, well, look, there we go. There's the NC State team from the regular season. That's the NC State team that everybody's been waiting to see come back around. The team that will not even make March Madness all next year. So Purdue is fortunate that their nerves and I mean, ED2, man, basically overall in that Final Four game, Purdue, in my opinion, it didn't look good. And then when I followed up with the second game of the day and watched UConn, I'm sitting there watching the game and I'm like, okay, I don't really care about this game. I know UConn's going to win it. But let's just kind of visualize here as we watch UConn take this win in the Final Four over Alabama. Let's visualize right now how UConn's playing on the screen and then think back to kind of how I watched Purdue play NC State. And what is just screaming to me is the fundamentals, like the very simple things. Purdue just looked kind of sloppy. I mean, Zach Edey, I don't understand how you can be so big, and when you get the ball in the post, you bring the ball down to the level of guards. And Edey being his size, you would think that guy is so strong, where as long as he has two hands on that basketball, that even if a guard comes by and smacks it, right, tries to strip the ball and go for a steal, you would think he'd almost be able to like pick someone up as they're holding the ball. Like you would think I'd be able to do like pull-ups, like grab the basketball and do a pull-up as Zach Edey holds it. But he looked really soft, man. It was like all someone had to do is just kind of slap at the ball, and he was losing it. So I'm very nervous for Purdue's sake that when they're inbounding the ball into the post down on the block with Zach Edey, he's just going to be kind of a klutz, kind of a clumsy. I mean, do you dare say liability? I'm really concerned that Zach Edey is going to be. I mean, everyone's out here saying that he's going to be just as dominant. People are saying he's going to have no problem getting 25, 28 points in this game. I don't see it. I see using him to catch the ball high off inbounds and use him in the post to kind of facilitate. But if Purdue's going to be competitive in this game, if Purdue's going to win this game, it is 100 billion% up to their shooters. Lawyer, Braden Smith, Jones, and Gillis. I mean, these guys have to make their threes. If they make their threes, Purdue, I swear to God, Purdue can win this game. They can absolutely win the game. I think they're going to shoot much better in this game than they did in the last game because of the nerve should be just about gone for Purdue. They have got all the way through all of the potential upsets, and now they're the underdog. Purdue is an underdog, has great numbers. If you look up the trends against the spread and straight up, Purdue is fantastic as an underdog, and they should be loose, man. They should be loose. UConn has all the pressure. Everybody's coming for UConn. They're the ones with the expectations and all this stuff, man. If Alabama could keep it close that long, then absolutely Purdue can. Purdue is basically an Alabama 2.0. They have the same 3-point shooters, and they got Zach Edey down low. Now, like I said, it's really hard for me to think he's going to have any success at all. And by any success at all, I mean like maybe he gets 15 points. Maybe 15, maybe some boards, but Klingon, the people in the paint, I think they're going to have a good plan to double him. I mean, as soon as he puts that ball on the floor, he's useless. He's completely useless. He literally is a liability. I mean, as soon as he goes to dribble, he's done. He's useless. I don't think the hook shot's going to work against Klingon. Obviously, the refs here can definitely get involved and dictate this game however they please, and I hope that doesn't happen. I hope they let him play on both sides. I hope they let Edey stay aggressive on D, and I hope they let Klingon go crazy. Klingon, way better footwork, man. Way better fundamentals. Way more athleticism. Faster. An ability to get burnt and recover. Edey's too slow. I would take Klingon 10 times out of 10 over Zach Edey. So I like the coaching advantage for UConn. I like the big man advantage for UConn. I like the fundamentals and overall. Yeah, I mean, I like the fundamentals, the core basketball that UConn plays. But I love the mentality of Purdue. I cannot stress enough how important it is for this Purdue team to just breathe now. Like, it's okay, guys. We made it all the way to the final. We're expected to lose. We're a 7-point underdog. They could come out here and just absolutely light up the scoreboard and drop 80 on UConn and win this game. I really think it's possible. So it's going to be up to the refs a little bit, and it's purely going to be up to Purdue shooting. If Purdue does not knock down the shots, if they don't have a good day shooting, not only are they going to lose, not only are they not going to cover the spread, but UConn is going to blast them by 20 plus. I mean, by a lot. And we all know Hurley, man, how he coaches. They're not going to take their foot off the gas. This game solely rides on the shooting, the outside three-point shooting of Purdue. That's what it's going to come down to. If they're banging shots, if they go 40, I don't want to get too crazy. If they can shoot 44%, 43% from three, I think Purdue might win this game. But that's a lot to ask. We all saw UConn really crank up the defense in the last 10 to 15 minutes against Alabama. We could certainly see something similar here. But I just don't see Purdue as a team that's going to allow big runs. I don't think they're a team that's going to stay in it for 80% of the game to just give it up in the last 20. I think if they're in it from the start, it's probably going to be a close game throughout the entire game. If Purdue's just not shooting well right off the get-go, then it's going to be an extremely boring final. It's going to be a massive blowout. In terms of the total, it's 145.5 on most books right now. I would definitely look over. I would look over on the total. There's certain angles in this games that I'm going to be giving out for clients that I think are much better than just simply betting this -6.5 or this +7 or this total at 145.5. Really, really good angle I found based on numbers and some other things. But I'd look over the total. I mean, these teams have both played now on this court. Now, when you're playing in a big football stadium, you got to get acclimated. You have to be adjusted to this court. So we have a Purdue team that had all the pressure on the world, playing the Cinderella, playing NC State. So you got a Purdue team who generally chokes under pressure in big games. It's their first time playing in this new big venue. They were the first game of the Final Four. I mean, that's a tough scenario to come in and be loose and not have nerves and knock down your shots. And I still think they did all right. But UConn's going to get their points. They can score all types of ways. But both teams already getting one game out of the way. They're now used to this court. They're now used to the biggest stage, right? The brightest lights, the brightest cameras in action. And I think both teams are going to shoot well. I just don't see it. I think all the pressure being off of Purdue and the losing mentality, not the losing mentality, the underdog mentality, not having any pressure. I think that leads to much better offense and flow and just overall zen from the Purdue team. And I think UConn is just so unbelievably good that they're absolutely going to score on UConn. They're going to score over 80. This UConn team is going to score over 80 for sure. They're going to get their points. Total's 145.5. I think it's a back and forth game. I think both teams can shoot. It sounds like a cheap way to give your final prediction, but if you look at free throws, UConn has the clear advantage. And if this thing does come down to the wire, I mean, we saw it with Alabama, but it's going to be on a smaller scale, but still a smaller scale could easily take what is basically a back and forth game all the way to the last couple minutes. Purdue misses the last couple Hail Mary threes, couple fouls trying to extend the game. UConn players knock down those free throws, and that number might go from, right around that 2-3 mark. Purdue might just be down down 3 points, down 4 points, just a bucket or two, maybe even a one possession game, and just 1 or 2 fouls with missed shots from Purdue in that last 45 seconds of game can definitely take that number right from 3 or 4 up to 6 or 7. And that's right where the spread is now. So free throws are a big part of this. I think if you're going to have to take this spread, okay, I think you got to have more trust that UConn is probably the team that can get a stop or two defensively, not offensively. They can get a stop or two defensively at the end. And when Purdue has to foul to extend the game, you're going to have to take a chance and assume that UConn probably makes those free throws. And hopefully, even if it's a close game, right around 2 or 3 points, 4 points, that a few of those free throws at the end get you just enough to get a cover. If Purdue doesn't show up, if Purdue does not knock down their shots in this game, this is going to be a huge blowout. I mean, maybe a 25-point win. They're going to put it on Purdue heavily. But if Purdue is coming in loose in that underdog mentality, like, okay, no more pressure. We're no longer a favorite. We're no longer in the spotlight, like for everyone waiting us to choke away a game. Now we're expected to lose. If they can come in and just not play on house money, because they've been so good all year too. They want to win this as well. But if they can really come in and just relax and understand that, all the pressure of those middle and beginning rounds is over. If Lawyer and Jones and Smith, I mean, they got shooters. I don't think Edey's going to score a lot, but if he can just not put the ball on the ground and facilitate and pass it out to those Purdue players, and they simply knock down those shots at a high rate, Purdue's going to win the game outright. So the big pivot will be free throws at the end. It'll be Purdue's outside shooting. Those are your two biggest factors. I think Clingan and Edey are fairly easy to understand what's going to happen. I think the referees, with both teams having a big guy, it's not like one team doesn't have the size to compete with the other. Having Clingan and Edey, I don't think fouling is going to get out of control. I at least hope it's consistent. Whether they want to call it tight or they want to let these guys play, I think it will remain pretty consistent for both sides. And yeah, Purdue has a historically good shooting night just from having less pressure. They can absolutely win the game. If it's average or below average, then free throws and fouling at the end should lead to a UConn cover. So those are the two things you guys want to factor in. But yeah, this is it, guys. College basketball. It's been a heck of a ride. So many videos, so many games we've gone over, and so much money was made over the last 4, 5, 6 months, man. Just so much money, and it's awesome to end on a high note. Looking to do that. I'm going to have quite a few plays out tomorrow. And again, we're 1 week away from NBA playoffs. Really excited. Been watching a lot of NBA. Actually cashed with Minnesota Timberwolves to finish out our losing day and make it a little less painful. So feeling good about NBA. MLB was kind of a weird day, but we've been look at that. Green. A 9.8 unit day in one day. That was all MLB pretty much. It's going to be awesome. All spring, all summer, and then it's football again. It never stops. Always money to be made. Again, website link in the description if that's something of interest. Otherwise, let me know your guys' predictions on this game in the comments below. I'll see you in the next video.